The NFL offseason has been crazy, especially for Seattle. Let's talk about it. Before the video starts, I just want to thank you guys for all the support on the Jackson Dart video. I really appreciate it. Stay blessed. 3 big moves happened this week over in Seattle, and it's definitely very interesting to talk about. So let's just get straight into it. The biggest one so far, I would believe, is probably DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers. The reason this is so interesting to me is because as a Seahawks fan myself, I've known that DK struggles. The team is not really having a franchise quarterback, and also the weather also not being in a contender, which the Steelers aren't really much of an upgrade. He obviously doesn't choose where he gets to go, but I think the reason he went to the Steelers was because that was a team that was offering the highest compensation. The Seahawks openly expressed that the least they're going to trade DK for is a 3rd round pick, and I think that's completely valid. That's their wide receiver 1, and if they're going to find a replacement, it's going to have to be in the draft or in free agency. Now, the second craziest move that happened was Geno Smith getting traded to the Raiders. They obviously had a plan trading Geno Smith, so that's why this one's not as crazy to me. Geno Smith is 35 years old, and honestly, he's been okay quarterback for the Seahawks. He hasn't necessarily been bad, but he also hasn't been great either. Obviously, stats only tell half the story. If you watch him on tape, he's a great quarterback, but with 15 interceptions and 21 touchdowns, at 35 years old, I just don't think he's going to get any better than this. They traded Geno for a 3rd round pick, which I think is amazing for his age and his value. With the Seahawks signing Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $100 million deal, I don't really see this being a major issue. The only questions it raises is how much money are we going to have for wide receivers in free agency and for offensive linemen. Probably the least shocking but more sad was Tyler Lockett getting released from the Seahawks. On paper, releasing Tyler Lockett makes sense. He's 32 years old and you need cap space. On the flip side, Tyler Lockett has been one of the most healthy and consistent wide receivers in NFL history. Ever since 2019, 4 out of his 6 seasons, he's had 1,000 yards. Obviously, with him being 32 and not putting up a great season can raise some concerns, but if you can trade for a 35-year-old Geno Smith, you can trade for a 32-year-old Tyler Lockett. Now I'm going to go over about what I think about all these moves and decisions truly. I think genuinely the Seahawks lost this trade here because with DK getting paired up with George Pickens, that's going to be a lethal combo. But also, this receiver class is stacked. Unfortunately, we don't have a DK Metcalf in the draft this year, but we do have a lot of good receivers that I think can fill his role. Honestly, if he falls out of the 1st round, I think a great pick for the Seahawks in this scenario would be Luther Burden. He's a great receiver, and now that his draft stock's falling, he's going to be super underrated. A lot of people seem to think that Geno Smith getting traded was a bad move, but I don't think that at all. Getting a 3rd round pick for a 35-year-old quarterback is honestly one of the best things that could have happened. This honestly shows how desperate the Raiders were for a quarterback, and also how Geno Smith gets to reunite with Pete Carroll, so I think this is a win on both sides. I think with signing Sam Darnold, they obviously had a plan with trading Geno, and I think that they can also get a quarterback in the draft to develop. I think releasing Tyler Lockett was probably not the best idea. They probably could have traded him for maybe a 3rd or a 4th round pick, but there's a lot of teams in the league right now that we need a wide receiver 3 or even a wide receiver 2, and the Houston Texans or the Buffalo Bills probably could have made a trade in for a 3rd or 4th round pick. I think straight up cutting Tyler Lockett wasn't the move. I think, again, they could have gotten trade value for him or at least have him retire a Seahawk. He's been one of my favorite players to watch on the team, and it's really sad to see him go. But now that's all said and done, what should the Seahawks do in free agency and in the draft? I think offensive line should be the first thing that they address, and if that's drafting one or maybe even getting some out of free agency, I think that is the best option for them to keep Sam Darnold up straight so he can throw to whatever receivers we pick up. Speaking of that next, they need to get some wide receivers. I think a good pickup at free agency would be KJ Osborne. I don't think he's going to be targeted that much, and honestly, he'd be a good wide receiver 2 or 3. But also, like I said previously, Luther Burden would be a great pickup in the draft. The Seahawks don't really have much to worry about when it comes to wide receiver. Obviously, they lost their wide receiver 1 and 3, but they have Jake Bobo on roster, and just picking up 1 or 2 in free agency shouldn't be that difficult. This video has been mainly offensively focused, but if we switch the topic over to defense, they just need to get some linebackers, and I think they'll be set. Their offseason this year doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good, and I think they'll be back to where they started originally at the beginning of the season. That's just my opinion on everything. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Stay blessed. Peace.